Friends of YouTube, this is the terrifying story of the beheading of Anne Boleyn, ordered by Henry VIII of England. Please support us by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. The brutal beheading of Anne Boleyn by Henry VIII of England. The sky over London broke with a leaden color that May 19, 1536, as if even the celestial vault had decided to go into mourning ahead of time. It was no ordinary morning. The air was thick, almost unbreathable, heavy with whispers, half-spoken prayers, and a fear that did not know to whom it belonged. From the heights of the Tower of London, the flags hung motionless, without wind, as if they too feared to move. When Whitehall, Henry VIII had been awake since before dawn. He had not slept. The king paced from one side of his chambers to the other like a caged beast, fists clenched and jaw tight. Every detail of the day had been reviewed, corrected, and reviewed again with an almost pathological obsession. It was not just an execution, it was a surgical operation of power, a symbolic amputation of the past to make way for a future that already had a name, a face, and a fertile womb. He had ordered the exact amount of straw for the scaffold, neither too much so as not to absorb the blood nor so little that the scene would appear improvised. He had personally approved the payment of £23 to the French executioner, a massive sum, but necessary. The English axe was crude, noisy, brutal. He wanted precision, speed, silence. He would not allow an error that would turn Anne Boleyn's death into a grotesque farce. History was to remember it as a clean, almost merciful act. What no one knew, not even his closest advisors, was that Henry had signed in the early hours a second document, a sealed parchment that ordered something even more disturbing. If Anne showed any sign of public accusation, if she uttered a single word that endangered the future legitimacy of Elizabeth, the red-haired girl who slept unaware of her mother's fate, the executioner was to stop. And Kingston had orders to lock her up again, alive. For something worse. But Anne gave no reason. She emerged from her quarters with firm steps, wrapped in a dress of gray damask silk, elegant to the point of insult. The white skin of her neck contrasted with the darkness of the fabric. Over her shoulders, an ermine cape, a symbol of a royalty that had already been stripped from her in everything but the final ritual. Her face was serene, almost distant, as if she were walking toward a social engagement and not toward the edge of a sword. Sir William Kingston, the constable of the Tower, advanced by her side. That man had witnessed dozens of executions, had heard pleas, curses, and screams, but never anything like this. The Queen's calm disarmed him. She did not cry. She did not tremble. She asked nothing. At one point, Kingston would swear that Anne smiled at him, a slight, almost complicit smile, as if she knew something he did not. The gates of the Tower, which were supposed to remain closed, were open. Officially, it was an error. Unofficially, everyone knew the truth. The king wanted witnesses. More than 1,000 people crowded into the courtyard. Merchants, servants, fallen ladies, spies disguised as onlookers. Some prayed. Others smiled. Many only wanted to see if the woman who had defied the Pope would die like a queen, or like a witch. The scaffold creaked when Anne climbed the steps. There, the French executioner awaited her, broad-shouldered, impassive face, without the traditional attire. There was no axe in sight, only a dark cloak, unlooked him in the eye for an instant too long. In that second, something strange happened. The man lowered his gaze, not out of respect, out of fear, because he had seen that look before, on battlefields, in people who knew they had already won, even if they were about to die, and addressed the crowd. Her voice was clear, firm, almost sweet. I have not come here to accuse anyone. Every word fell like poison wrapped in honey. She knew spies, ambassadors, and chroniclers were listening. She knew her voice would travel further than her body. She called Henry a gentle prince, not out of love but out of strategy, a final act of protection for her daughter. A verbal shield against the fury of a man who erased wives like writing errors. When she said, "To God I commend my soul," her ladies broke into tears. They removed her cape, then the pearl headdress. Her neck was left exposed, pale, fragile under the ashen light of dawn. She knelt, without a block. The executioner moved barefoot, silent as a shadow. Then he shouted, "Toward the right, boy, bring my sword." Anne barely turned her face. It was enough. The steel appeared from the straw like a lightning bolt. a single movement. There was no scream. Only a metallic hiss. And then the wet sound that no one would ever forget. The body fell forward. Blood soaked the gray silk in seconds. The head rolled, stopping near the edge of the scaffold. The executioner lifted it by the hair, showing the face that had changed England forever. And then the first twist occurred. Several witnesses swore under oath, in encrypted letters sent to France and the Holy Roman Empire, that Anne's eyes blinked, that her lips moved. Not in senseless spasms, but forming syllables. Some claimed to have read one word, Elizabeth. The executioner turned pale. In Whitehall, Henry felt an inexplicable chill. But the final twist did not happen that day. It happened years later, when that girl, protected by her mother's final silence, grew up to become Elizabeth I, the Virgin Queen, the woman who never married. The sovereign who ruled with implacable coldness and a memory as sharp as a French sword. They say Elizabeth kept in a secret chest a small piece of dark-stained gray silk, that on sleepless nights, she whispered, "My mother did not lose her head, she gave it up, so that I could keep mine." Thus, in just 17 days, Henry VIII believed he had erased a life. But in reality, he had just created an eternal ghost, one that would rule England long after his own name turned to dust.